Hey, I see
There we
me.
go.
And Williams.
Everybody. Well, how's everybody today?
We're wonderful, getting better by the minute. I think I speak for all of us. And when we say thank you so much, we're so excited to have you in. Ken, you're a legend. How you doing?
It's Ken
Very
Williams,
good.
everybody. Just, in case not everybody recognizes him on site, although I don't know how you couldn't.
Well, I'm actually coding away on a game this morning. It's 10:30 here, and I've been going for 4.5 hours, and have very little to show for it. It is so much work to build a game. I don't know, I had forgotten. And even in the Sierra days, for the last few years, I was more of a corporate bureaucrat and programmer manager than I was a actual game programmer. And from the ivory tower, it seems kind of easy. But when you're down in the trenches actually writing code for a game, it's a lot of work. But anyway, what can I tell you guys? Yeah.
When was the last time you sat down and wrote code before this?
I've written code continually. I had kind of a little hobby goof-off thing I was doing, making websites. And I just always wanted to keep my coding current. I don't know. It feels like if you ever stop coding, that something bad will happen. I don't know what, but you gotta keep the energy going.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that you're making a game, Ken? What? I have not heard about it. What game are you making, Ken?
You really want to plug, huh? No, we're doing Colossal Cave, the old text adventure game from 50 years ago. It sounded like an easy project at the beginning, but I had no clue how deep the game was. And it was going to be just me and Marcus, who I think is also on, and an artist, and we were going to do it. And, like 30 days in, we said we were done. And Roberta saw it and said, that looks like crap. Let's start over and get a team and do this thing right. And so that began I guess that was a little over a year ago. And we wound up hiring 30 people and starting fresh, and have been working ever since. And I kind of want my life back. So we've been working really hard. Roberta and I have been doing 12-hour days, 7 days a week for, probably the last 4 months. We've been just going we do nothing. We get up in the morning, we hit the computers, and she's in the next room playing and QAing, and I'm in this room coding. So, and a lot of our team is working through the weekend too, in order to get this game out. So we're working.
That's awesome. Incredible to have. So we had an opportunity to test it out over at PAX West, and I will say it's beautiful. It's exciting. A wonderful job on the panel, Ken. You guys handled yourself in a wonderful, wonderful way despite limitations. We're coming out of this COVID world. What's it like building a game during COVID?
It worked for us in that if you go back to pre-COVID, nobody really much used Slack or Teams or any of that stuff. Some companies did, but really even those products got better during COVID because everybody had to work remote. And so when we fired up the project, I knew I needed a team, and in a normal world, I'd have run an ad in the local Craigslist and looked for people, but instead I was able to scour the entire world looking for people, and it made it a lot faster. I was able to assemble a team in no time. We spend all day on Microsoft Teams. Everybody's chatting constantly. If they want to show me their screen, they just say, look at my screen. And I can go onto their screen and actually set breakpoints and help them debug. And that couldn't have been done, even 3 or 4 years ago. We're probably the only company that really kind of, I'm sure if you're Amazon, you got everybody coming to work and suddenly they're working from home, you lose productivity. But in my case, we gained productivity because it wouldn't have been possible. We had a engineer that's in Thailand. He's moved back to the States now. One of our QA guys lives in Zurich. Much of the team, if people ask me where they live at, I go, I don't know, but they live on my computer screen all day, every day. That's where they live at. So it's
Feel?
but,
How does it feel?
yeah.
How does it feel getting back into the swing of things?
I don't know, both good and bad. I know that the day this project is over, I'm going to be very sad, because it is fun. I mean, it's a good group of people. I think people love the idea of being able to be there every day, even though they're at home, but they feel there's this team spirit that we've got that you just don't normally see. Even in an office, when you're in a cubicle, it's different. I mean, our whole team, we see each other all day, we talk all day. We have one chat channel where people post kind of pictures of their dogs or whatever, and it's become kind of a family. So it's a cool project, and it's fun people to be with. Roberta and I are kind of the old people on the project. I'd say the average age of everybody on the project, I don't know, mid-30s, maybe younger 30s. We wanted senior people. We didn't want complete rookies. But they're not my age, fortunately. Because we wanted people that could relate to the audience that's going to play this game. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll tell you that I am. I mean, me and so many of us are excited to see you guys back in it. In fact, the YouTube chat here is just full of people just saying, "Thank you, Ken. Thank you for my childhood. Love to see it." There's nothing but a wealth of warmth coming towards you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, if the game will sell as well as my book, I wrote the book. That was the other thing that happened in COVID. I wrote this book about Sierra. I swore I would never write a book. Everybody always asked me, when are you going to write a book? And I said, never. And then COVID happened. I was bored. And I started scribbling. And then I never had an editor, never marketed it, never did anything. And suddenly, day one, 30,000 copies. And it still pops into the top 10 on Amazon from time to time. And it's, it's just people that like Sierra. I mean, I would, I'm not a great writer. I'd never written anything really other than a bunch of stuff about boating. And I was surprised, and that's part of what made me think maybe I should do it. Because we unplugged. I mean, we really disconnected from the game industry, Roberta and I. We didn't go at a computer store. We didn't do a game. Somebody said Fortnite, and I said, "What's that?" I mean, we had no idea. What's a Call of Duty? I mean, now I've kind of heard some of these names, but I've never played any of them. I mean, we really just kind of dropped out and went boating for 28 years.
Your story really is so unique. You guys, you were there at the beginning of computer games, building this massive cultural touch point for so many people, and then you were just you finished your work and you went off on a boat.
Yeah, we
sounds like the end of a game.
I know. I mean, probably. I wish we had not sold Sierra. I mean, it would have been nice to keep going, but we were also kind of burnt out. I mean, we ran Sierra for almost 20 years. And it got so big. I mean, we were a public company for, I think, almost 8 years. We had 1,000 employees. I'm kind of compulsive. My rule at Sierra was nothing could be seen by a customer without me seeing it. So I wanted to see every box. I wanted to see every ad. I wanted to see every sell sheet. I wanted to see every screen. And we were scattered to, 20 locations. So I was constantly on airplanes. I'd have a meeting in France and a meeting in New York, a meeting in Boston, a meeting in Utah, a meeting in San Francisco. And I was never home. And I was kind of feeling, that really grinds on you after a few years. And the pressure of being a public company and having to make numbers. So every day I would go into work and I would be jealous of all the game devs because they got to get up and build something creative and fun. And, but I do think that was part of why we sold Sierra, was kind of just burnout. I mean, 20 years, well, plus, we were getting, I don't know. It felt right. It felt right at the time, and I thought I'd built Sierra big enough that it would live forever. We never expected that we were selling to crooks and that they were going to basically shut the company down. That kind of was not fun. But anyway, sorry, I don't mean to meander. I'll go back to you guys.
Interviews.
Ew.
Yeah, it was time. We retired. We kind of got our second 15 minutes of fame as boaters. We bought a boat and decided we were going to circumnavigate and did it. I mean, we crossed the Bering Sea and the Atlantic, and we were on the cover of virtually every boating magazine and had a good time. We went to Japan and Taiwan and Turkey. We spent 3 years cruising around Turkey and Malta and I don't know, every place. And it was, we took our doggies with us. We had crazy adventures trying to get our dogs into places that, like Japan, which was, would never normally allow somebody with a dog to come in, but we did it. And even Hawaii. So, and a little boat, you know, I captained it and I got a captain's I actually got a license as a diesel mechanic and a HVAC mechanic and all this weird crap. So, but enough about that. Back to games. What can I tell you?
Oh, actually, I was going to encourage you to keep talking about. I know your many fans want all Sierra all the time.
I was right before this call. I was looking to see if I could share screen and play through some of the game, and I kind of got it going, but I couldn't share the sound from the game. I'm going to try to work that out before Roberta's on and see if I can have her do a little walkthrough to show you what we're doing. I mean, some of you have seen it at the shows, but it's pretty cool. I mean, because it's starting to be, even Roberta's kind of surprised because she's never been able to play end to end. And this weekend is kind of going to be her first time to go end to end through the whole game. And so she's getting to some of the later regions of the game that she's never seen. She's kind of like just amazed and having fun. The artists have really kind of gone over the top. So I think people will have fun.
You can show us the standard version of the game, but one of the big draws of this reimagining is its VR component, right?
Yeah, although, you know, what's funny is the VR, when I'm in it, I love it. When I'm in it, I love it. But then when I'm not in it, when I first go back to the PC version after the VR, I'm really disappointed in the PC. But then when I'm on PC for a while, then I kind of remember the headaches or kind of the seasickness type feeling of being in VR. I'm hoping that people will kind of try both. Although younger people, I don't think that kind of grew up with VR or starting to grow up with VR don't get the same seasick feeling that some people do. I mean, the problem with an adventure game inherently, I think, in VR is that people are going to be in this game, we think, for, 40, 50 hours. Mm-hmm. And wearing that helmet for 40 or 50 hours can get old. But although I guess, we'll see. People, once you go into the VR thing, it's such a cool experience that it's hard not to want to keep doing it. So I kind of bounce between the two. But
I could definitely attest to that. Played the game.
Definitely what?
I could definitely attest to that. Played the game at PAX. It was absolutely impressive. My wife enjoyed it as well. And, when I heard that you were going to be making a game, I said, you know what? It's going to be VR because Ken Williams is known for innovation. So
innovate. Well, I when we started this, I always tell people that you should do kind of a crawl, walk, run strategy. Mm-hmm. And dropping back into the business, being me, the first thing I wanted was to do multiplayer, massive multiplayer, VR, all this weird stuff. And then I said, no, I can't do that because you got to spin up. You got to kind of graduate. And so that's one of the reasons I targeted Colossal Cave, because I thought it'd be easy. It's single player. I can do it first person. But then Marcus, one of our artists, is kind of a VR fanatic. and he started twisting my arm to do VR, and that kind of moved us up from crawling to walking. And actually, as it turned out, VR is not as easy to code for as you think. We wound up throwing away everything we had done and starting fresh, and it's new. I mean, you suddenly discover when you're coding for the VR that everything you're working with is beta or alpha, and the tutorials on YouTube don't match what's in the product. And VR, we spent probably 3 months just not being able to do much of anything at all because nothing worked. And Unity and VR at the time weren't playing real nice together, but now everything's working and things have matured a lot, and we got in at the right time. But VR wound up throwing us more of a curveball than we expected. It's I'll be surprised to see any game as big as what we're doing come out anytime soon, especially in the adventure game category. Because it's a challenge, you know. Hey, well, has anybody in the audience got any questions? Anything that I could tell anybody that, you know? Otherwise, I just
meander. You were just talking about Marcus, and here he is. How's it going, Marcus?
How's it going? I'm trying to turn on the camera. Did I get it on? Oh, there we go.
Oh, I see Marcus.
Hi, Ken.
Well, hi, Marcus. How you doing?
Good. We're almost at 2 years. Which is like,
oh God, don't tell me that.
It's quite impressive. And
Marcus and I had this game almost finished almost a year and a half ago before we started throwing everything away and starting fresh. So,
and it was worth it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I think so, and I hope everybody does. But that, it's been a challenge. Well, anyway, welcome, Marcus.
Whatever you guys played at PAX West, it's different already. Like, we have this thing called Plastic where he's merging all the art and the code and whatever is going on. And it's amazing, like, to see it just progress in such a speed now, where it was before when it was just me and maybe Emily, and just it was a little slower because it takes a while to build the art and put it in and code it. But now things are moving at like such a quick, rapid pace. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, that for those that haven't done it, we use a source control system because we've got 30 people that are constantly checking in art and sound and code, and stopping everybody from stepping on each other is a nightmare. And we track the change sets, and I'm on change set 10,791 or something, and that's after when we got to 10,000 on a repository, we started fresh. So we're like 21,000 iterations of code. So it's been it's active even during the day. Just watching everybody checking in every direction. So I describe myself in the credits as ringmaster. And that's what I feel like. I'm standing in the middle of a circle with everybody around me, and they're all kind of firing in this stuff at me, and I'm trying to get it into the game as fast as I can. But
the size of the game, should I say it's colossal?
Oh, pun intended.
Bad pun. Well,
I mean, it's just so massive. Like, just going down there, trying to play the game, like even if knowing all the puzzles and going through it, it's like, wow, takes a while.
Yeah. Ken, you asked if there was...
Well, you guys promised... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you asked if there was questions from the chat, and there is a lot of questions from the chat. I hope I didn't interrupt your train of thought. If you want to continue that, then we can ask some of these questions.
No, go with the questions. The fans are where more important.
Yeah, it's what the people want, not me.
Okay. So. Well, you have lots of them here. You have Chris Brady. You have apparently some terrible bots that have entered the room, so I'm going to try to remove some of those. But Ralph Caravillo asked if Microsoft worked with Ken and Roberta on Sierra stuff, would they be interested, or do they feel like it's best to move on to new things?
I don't know. I know that Activision has the rights to our old titles, except Leisure Suit Larry. Somehow that got sold off elsewhere. But Microsoft has them. I briefly, a long time ago, chatted with Phil Spencer, who's kind of their head of gaming, and I know he was an old King's Quest fan. So they'll have the licenses, whether or not they want to do nothing with them. I talked to the people at Activision, well, it's got to be a year ago now, to ask them if they wanted to do something, if we were willing to work with them. And they really are kind of focused on these big, massively multiplayer, billion-dollar games. And I'm not in my point in my life where I want to run a 1,000-person team or anything like that. So I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. If Microsoft calls when they get the rights and says, do you want to do Laura Bow? Do you want to do King's Quest? Then I'll certainly take the call. Whether we'll ever do a game, I have no idea.
I'm not much of a betting man. I would put money that if Colossal Cave is successful, which it will be, but if it's a huge success, that phone will be ringing off the hook from Activision, Microsoft, and everybody from Jeff Bezos to who. Everybody else will be calling you.
Yeah, no, that is how the world works. You're only as good as your last movie. And if the game sells, then my phone will ring, and if it don't, it won't. But I know that we've kind of delivered on the promise of this game. I guarantee. I mean, I try to imagine, is anybody ever going to do this game better than we've done it? And it'll have to be 50 years from now when I don't know what. I don't know how it'll be different. I mean, no one is going to make this game better than it is now for a very long time. So it lasted 50 years. It's a pretty cool game. And as we've gotten into it, we've been surprised that we've taken apart, because there's a side of us that thinks we're preserving history and wants to do it right. I mean, there was the original, and then there were 400-point versions, 500-point versions, 600-point versions, and none of those really did well. I mean, it's the original that did well, and that's what we want to remake, and we want to be pure to it and just do it right. So we every time there's something like, does such and such do something, the answer is real straightforward. Let's go back, look at the source, and see how that behaves. And you'll be impressed when you see it. You'll recognize there's this feeling when you're playing it, and when that first line comes on in the game and it says you're standing at the end of the road, there's this emotional reaction that everybody has. It's just a cool feeling. So anyway, back to you. Sorry.
And Jason Cryer, what a voice actor we found, right? He's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't expect that when I first heard his voice. Pretty cool. He did good. Well, I felt so sorry for him a couple of weeks, because we've been holding off doing voice recording until the end, and suddenly we hit him with 1,200 lines. It was kind of like, you got to do these this weekend. We need them. And I offered to send him help to slice them up, because you got to get them diced up to separate messages for the product. And he said, I can do that. And I said, well, I'll pay your wife, anybody, to come help you. And he said, no, I don't need help. And on Monday, he's kind of like, well, I need all the help I can get. 1,200 lines is a lot of lines. His voice was shot, and it's a lot of work. We'll still have another 100 or so pickup lines for him. Roberta's going through now looking for things we might have missed that we got to pick up. And that's all happening.
So as much as you keep saying that this game is following the exact source code, which it pretty much is, there is a lot of touches that Roberta and the team have put in there to make it a unique game on its own. So even if you've played the original text adventure, this game is different. And I also feel like it's totally a different experience in each platform. So if you play it on the PC versus the Switch versus it in the MetaQuest, even though it's the same game, it feels like 3 different experiences.
Yeah.
So
very different. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Some other questions from the chat. No, it's all right. No, we want to hear from you guys, but I got some other questions from the chat here. So there's a question that actually I have myself. Oriana Green asked, are there any plans to do an adventure game about boating? Have you ever thought of combining your two passions
together? If I was going to do it, I'd probably do it more as a simulator. kind of like Microsoft Flight Simulator, but although it would be incredibly boring, yeah, they say about boating that it's, hours of boredom punctuated by seconds of terror. And it's like that. I mean, it's, you're going and you go and you go and you go and it's boring. But then when things go wrong, they go really wrong. I mean, we've been, at anchor in Sardinia, in Corsica, where it was like a solid week of 60 knot winds and boats were breaking loose. And it felt like Frogger with all the boats coming at us. And if one of them hits you, you can get really hurt. And because the wind will blow boats away from anchor. So I think a boat simulator would be terribly boring. But
Yacht Quest does have a nice ring to it. Yacht Quest does have a nice ring to it.
Yeah, I mean, you do best when you're doing something you're passionate about. And in picking designers for Sierra, that was always really what I looked for more than anything, is somebody that was passionate about a subject, rather than taking a good designer and saying, I got an idea for a law game, go do something legal. And at times, I signed up, what was his name? Vincent Bogliosi, who did the Manson trials. And I wanted to do something with him, but none of my designers were particularly passionate about it. And so we didn't do it. It was really a matter of finding people, what they have a passion for and can do really well and what they live and breathe, and then turning them loose on a project. Corey and Lori, I think they're going to be on later, or have been on, but, when you meet them, I mean, they are like their game. It helped that Corey could program, but I mean, their heart and soul was into it. So you could tell this is going to be a winner. All I got to do is somehow help them build a game, and that'll work for everybody. Players will like it, and we'll like it. So that was the great sadness for that series. What was it called initially? Was it called Quest for Glory, and we wound up renaming it or something?
Well,
Trying to remember the original name.
Heroes Quest.
Heroes
Yeah.
Quest. Hey, Heroes Quest. And we renamed it Quest for Glory. It kind of got confused in the market, but I'm glad to see that series is still in effect, living on, 40 years later.
People love that game.
Yeah, that was great. That was kind of our expanding, beyond adventure games. We tried to stretch the technology a few different directions with the Dr. Brain series, EcoQuest, Mixed Up Mother Goose. We were trying to push other directions.
Well, you mentioned not even just in adventure games. I remember you mentioned massively multiplayer online games a few times, and I remember the first one I played in the 90s was one called The Realm Online.
Yeah,
that was
so great,
so much fun, and such a wildly innovative thing for the time. I'd never seen anything like it at that point.
How old are you, Matt?
I'm a little older than I look.
I'm hopefully not as old as I look. We started really young. You got to remember that. I was out of high school at 14 and dropped out of college the first year and started working almost immediately. So in a way, I mean, for having been around as long as I have, I don't think I'm as old as, I don't know. It's weird to span the entire generation of computers. I started by programming key punch machines, and here we are with massively multiplayer games. So the world has changed, doing 3D and VR, and I actually found a cool picture. I think I sent to Marcus of me wearing a VR headset almost 30 years ago. And the quote on it, we ran it in our magazine, was something like, I thought maybe it was going to take a few years for these things caught on, but and it has. Although now they're pretty much caught on. I actually watched the metaverse stuff the other day with Zuckerberg, and I still think they're onto something.
Brag.
It's just quite happening. Huh?
I said humble brag.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought. By the time I watched that, I bought one of those Quest Pros. I'm looking forward to getting it and seeing what can be done with it. So that could be fun. But
they also You also did the Sierra Network, which was pretty awesome, innovative, and ahead of its time. You could have been like the AOL or, the internet.
Well, it came very close, and that when I met with Bill Gates personally tried to buy the thing, and at the time they were doing MSN or starting to think about it, and there was this decision of whether or not to buy our Sierra network and turn it into Microsoft's network. And we wound up going with AT&T. That became kind of a famous screw up. What do you get when you mix a really giant company with a little company? You just get the giant company that moves at a snail's pace and does nothing. Probably if we'd gone with Microsoft, it would have been way different. Or if we just stayed on our own. But we were doing something that even today, when you look at, we were doing email before email. We were doing avatars. Wow. I had the original patent on doing avatars. And we did a lot of cool stuff at Sierra. We were, we were in the fortunate position of getting there at the beginning, and in gaming, we were kind of the place you wanted to work because we had the reputation for doing cool new things, and I was always encouraging the team to try to think of cool new things to do. And hopefully, we're bringing that culture to Cygnus, and we're going to do cool new things. And
definitely make hard work really fun, Ken.
Well, it doesn't feel fun this morning, but it's definitely a lot of work.
I tell you what, you have done so much for not only this industry, but in the tech industry in general. I mean, Ken Williams, we could talk with you forever. We're going to be able to talk with Roberta this afternoon. It's going to be 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern when we have, is that right, Jack?
I believe so.
I believe that's right. And then later on, we're going to have Marcus on. He's going to give this incredible giveaway that I told everybody about. So stick around till then. We could take the whole 12 hours and talk with you folks.
Easily.
But unfortunately, we gotta.
Before you kick us off.
Yeah.
We're going to be at Unite. Okay, this is nobody has heard this yet, but we're going to be with Unity at Unite on November 1st. And we're going to be showing off the latest build of Colossal Cave, and definitely working very hand in hand with Unity, which has been an amazing partner for us. And I just wanted to put that out there that we'll be at that event.
That's awesome. We will be sure to send everybody over any marketing materials that we have. Send it over to us, and we'll send it out as well. We are so happy to have you folks on the opening day of Adventure Game Hotspot. What better time to have? What better guest to have on Adventure Game Hotspot opening day than basically the creators of adventure games? Thank you, guys.